So I just got back from the store and I picked up some salmon and some tuna, and I'm gonna make some poke today. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, I got some green onions, some cabbage, some cream cheese, an avocado, and I got some ahi and some salmon. So I'm gonna stick these in the freezer for just about 30 minutes because it'll be easier to cut into cubes if they're a little slightly frozen. So I start by washing the onions really well, and then I dry them really well on a paper towel to get all of the extra liquid off so it doesn't end up in the dressing. I sharpen my knife because I really want to chop these onions very thin, and I want them to go all the way through so that they're not, connected at the bottoms in some areas. And I used almost 2 entire bunches of onions, but I like a lot of onions in my poke. I'm going to push those off to the side and then chop the next bunch. Look at this beautiful piece of tuna. I want to make sure that I cut it the best I can, so I'm just taking a look at it to see what I want to do. I took my ahi out of the freezer after about 30 minutes, just so it's nice and cold so that when I slice it, it's just a little bit easier to get like nice consistent chunks. I like to cut it about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch big. I don't want the ahi to be too big where I can't kind of taste all of the dressing around it, but I don't want it to be so small that I can't, taste the beautiful ahi that we got. Also, I got a really nice piece of tuna from the store, but I've also just gone to the grocery store, some of those grocery stores that sell the ahi in the case. And sometimes if you ask, you can ask them if they have like the frozen ahi cubes in the back. They're not as good of quality, but I mean, it's totally fine. Ahi is actually traditionally used with the scrap pieces of tuna that don't, look as good for, sashimi and that sort of thing. They use kind of the odds and ends of the fish, and so that they don't waste it is what I was taught when I was young, for, kind of how they would use it. But here in the mainland, it's kind of hard to get your hands on fresh, wild, caught tuna that is, safe enough to eat. So sometimes I end up going to the store and just buying, these nice steaks where, they probably could have been used for sashimi or something a little bit fancier. But I really love poke, and so sometimes I like to get, like a really nice piece of fish from the store. Also, I don't exactly know the proper way to cut sashimi or fish. I'm just drawing off of what I can remember from watching my dad do it. We grew up in Hawaii and we used to go fishing all the time, and we'd bring back, fish, and, I'd watch him prepare it. And I think the idea is kind of like with steak, when you want to cut it against the grain so that when you bite into it, you don't get the stringy pieces. So I'm just doing my best to portion this out and then slice it into nice consistent chunks. And I'm kind of taking my time because it's kind of enjoyable, but I'm trying not to work too slowly because I don't want the fish to, come to room temperature too fast. different ways to make poke, but what I'm trying to do is create a recipe that is as close to the traditional Hawaiian poke that my dad would make. I make poke a lot and I just eyeball it, and I want something a little bit more concrete. And so I'm doing my best to take measurements of what I use just so I have a baseline. And it's always going to change depending on what type of fish you're using and what the quality and how much oil is in the fish. But I also want to be able to tell people if they ask, like, how to make my poke. So I'm going to do my best right here to take some measurements. So I'm starting with 1 pound of poke, and this is 3 tablespoons of sesame oil. Next, I'm gonna go in with some pink Hawaiian salt. And this is a very coarse, chunky salt, and it will dissolve and kind of melt as you let it marinate in the fridge. So I'm just starting with a little less than a teaspoon of that salt, and then we can add some more later if we want. Next, I've got some toasted sesame seeds, and I'm gonna start with 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of red chili pepper flakes. And 1/4 of a cup of green onions. And then I'm going to fold it gently, and I'm going to try and be as delicate as possible because I really want the fish to stay as nice as possible. So I'm just taking my time and I'm folding in all of the ingredients, making sure that the salt incorporates with all of the different pieces, and the sesame and the chili flakes and the green onions. And then I'm going to give it a taste. And this is probably perfect for most people. I think this would be just fine. But I really like a lot of green onions and sesame, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. I'm gonna add another 1/4 of a cup of green onions. I feel like when it marinates in the fridge, the green onions kind of shrink, and I just like to really taste the green onions. I'm also going to add some more sesame seeds because I really like the crunch from the sesame seeds. If you can find fish eggs or masago, that would be really good in here too. I just don't have access to that all the time, so. And I'm also going to add another tablespoon of the red chili pepper flakes. But if you don't like spice, I think just the one, or just add to taste what you like. So I'm going to set this in the fridge for an hour or two so it can marinate. I'm going to do another recipe that is not something that I grew up eating, but something that I've enjoyed at sushi restaurants. And there's this great restaurant in Costa Mesa or in Newport Beach that sells a salmon poke that I love. So I'm trying to do my best to replicate that poke by cutting the salmon into the same size chunks as the ahi, about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch in size. And then we're gonna go in with some sesame oil, and I like to use the Asian sesame oil. I've gotten sesame oil from Trader Joe's and I feel like it doesn't have the same like toasty flavor. So I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. And salmon has a little bit more oil than ahi, so whatever you use for the ahi, I would maybe use a little bit less for salmon just to start. Then I'm gonna go in with a 1/4 cup of green onions, and 1 teaspoon of the Hawaiian salt. And I'm gonna use black sesame seeds instead of the regular because I think it looks really pretty with the salmon. I'm gonna stir that all together. And give it a taste test. I think it needs a little more green onion, so I'm gonna add an additional 1/4 cup. And another tablespoon of sesame seeds. Now I'm gonna add a tablespoon and another tablespoon of sriracha. If you can find the Asian one at the grocery store, I think that one's better, but I couldn't find any of the regular sriracha at the store. I think there's a shortage or something, so I just used the Trader Joe's one. And then I'm just gonna give it a nice good stir, and I just keep tasting it until I like how it tastes. Now, we're gonna set it in the fridge for a couple hours to marinate. So the salmon skin that I had, I don't throw that away. I use it. I actually love crispy salmon skin. For me, it's like a bacon of the sea. And if you just put it in a pan and you crisp it up, it's super crunchy and it's salty, and I think it's really good. So if you have the skin, I would give this a try, and you can slice it up and just eat it on its own. Or you can put it in your sushi roll or on a salad. It's just really good, so I would encourage you to try it. Fuji really likes it too.
Yes, good boy.
Next, I'm gonna slice up some avocado, and I'm gonna make kind of like a spin on a Philly roll. So I'm gonna get some seaweed and I'm gonna cut it in half and just lightly put it over a flame so that it can get a little bit more moldable. I picked this banana leaf from a tree that we have in our backyard. I actually planted the banana leaf because I also wanted to make plates with it because it would remind me of, you know, kind of being at like a Hawaiian luau. So even though I'm not going to get bananas anytime soon, I love using the leaves as a plate or like a decoration. I'm going to get my cream cheese and I'm going to put it on the seaweed, and I'm going to grab a little bit of avocado and stick it on top. And then I'm going to get my marinated salmon and I'm going to put it in the wrap, and then I'm just going to wrap it up like an ice cream cone. And if some of it falls out, just put it back in, and then you can always just top it off with a little bit more of the filling. You can wet your hands and try and close up the seaweed. It'll kind of stick to itself if you do that. And that way it'll stay closed. So now I just plated everything up. I had some rice in the fridge. I put some furikake on top. There's our Ahi Poke. There's our salmon poke. I had some cucumbers in the fridge that I pickled from the garden, and our little hand roll. All done, and I'm gonna give it a taste test. So I'm gonna start with this yummy roll. It's so good. This is like the best Philly roll. So thank you so much for checking out, what we're up to and what we've been doing. And thank you so much for watching.